Okay, I can see more and more people are joining us. That's wonderful.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're just going to wait a couple of moments to let everyone in. But while we're waiting, please do let us know which city you are joining us from today. This is a Ukrainian exclusive webinar, and I know you're scattered all around. So let us know where you are joining us from. So yeah, okay, from Kharkiv. Hi, Maria. And I should just say, when you're typing your messages, please make sure you are addressing it to everyone as opposed to just the hosts and panelists. That way everybody can join in the conversation. Vinnytsia, Lviv, Kharkiv, Kiev, of course, Poltava, Zhytomyr. Is that good pronunciation, Diana?
Yeah, still something to work on, but, but great.
Of course,
But really great.
Odessa, Poltava.
I like this, your ability to read names when they are not in English. So
I'm having a rough guess. So we've got Anna. There are certain letters which I know. Valentina, I think. Is that one?
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's great. Great skills.
I'm improving. Hi, Svetlana from Cherkassk. Oh, that's difficult to pronounce. Tatiana. Lubov, Oksana, hi Oksana.
Yuri.
I'm showing off now, right? Okay.
So I think.
The numbers slow down. So I'm going to hand over to you, Diana, to do your little intros.
Yeah, I have a little small introduction for everyone. So while we are waiting for everyone to join, I would like to present the company that organized this webinar. So together with National Geographic Learning, we are in Linguist company, are organizing this webinar today for you. Linguist is the official representative of National Geographic Learning in Ukraine. So if you have any questions, propositions, or you're interested in the books, please contact your manager in Linguist or contact me. You can see my contact details right now in the screen, so we can help you to get more about the books that National Geographic Learning proposes in Ukraine. Also, small reminder that today, due to some unforeseen circumstances, we were forced to change the topic of the webinar, but you all, in the reminder, you have this link to the webinar with Hugh, which is going to be on the June 9th. And also you will get the same link in your follow-up email with certificates, if I'm right.
Correct.
Okay, so Linguist company is an official representative in Ukraine. And if you are interested in our books, you want to search them by yourself, you want to check the main details, maybe to find some sample pages, please visit our site in Ukraine, linguist.angel.com.ua, where you can find interesting information and get contact details of people who can help you with the books. If you are a teacher and you're looking for books for a group, this is the site where you can do it, linguist.ua. There are buttons that help you order the books right away or get the consultation as well. And if you're looking for a book just for yourself, you want maybe to try one of the copies and after that make the decision, visit our new fresh opened online shop where you can order the book and get it right away. And now I think no more time to waste. Let's start the webinar. I'm happy to present you all Alex Warren, the great speaker who has a great experience teaching pupils and students from different ages and in different countries. Alex, as usual, presents very interesting and practical information. So I suggest you take something to make notes and be ready to get inspired in the next 60 minutes. So Alex, please welcome.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Diana, and thank you to all of you. And again, I just want to apologize that you have me today and not Hugh, who I know is very popular in Ukraine. But as Diana said, he had some family emergency that he had to deal with today. So I apologize, but hopefully you're going to have lots of fun and have lots of takeaway ideas from this session. And staying true to Hugh, I'm going to be talking about vocabulary and specifically word partnerships and the importance that they play in language acquisition, language production as well, which, as we all know, is a theme that is very close to Hugh's heart. As always, this session is going to be highly interactive. So your participation is always very much appreciated. I know how great you Ukrainian teachers are in that respect. And also, just to reiterate what Diana was saying, the session is being recorded. So if you have to pop out, if you have to leave early, don't worry. You will be sent a link to the recording tomorrow alongside the certificate, alongside a link to a survey, as well as a link to Hugh's webinar on the 9th of June. Okay, so without further ado, let's make a start. I'm going to start with a very quick question for you. I'm going to show you a slide and it's got 4 people on that you should know. And what I would like you to think about is what links them, what is the connection? What do they all have in common with each other? I don't need to know who they are. You don't need to write their names, but what links them? What is the connection between, I guess, John Lennon, Stan Laurel, Batman, Wallace? They're entertainers, they work in art. Yeah, that's true. They're famous, good. There's all good links. There's something else. They have no beard. Thank you, Paulina. I like your thinking outside the box, just like our students would do. Maybe art. Thank you, Tatiana. They're all good. They are good guys, Maria. They're all funny. These are all great ideas, by the way. They are all male. But any other thoughts? There's something else. You're trying to think more outside the box. They're celebrities, they have names and surnames. Yes, they're interesting. Thank you, Marina. Oksana. Okay. I'm going to help you. So yeah, they are all English speaking as well, Oksana. They're British. Well, Batman's not really British. Stan Laurel's not British. Okay, I'm going to help you. So for me, when I think about John Lennon, the first person, I don't just think about John Lennon. I think about someone else. When I think about Stan Laurel, I can't think about him without thinking about someone else. When I think about Batman, I always think of someone else as well. When I think of Wallace, someone else comes to mind. Because on their own, all of these people are fine, they're great. But they're all better when they hang out with their partners in crime, so to speak. They're all part of a double act. We talk about Lennon and McCartney, Laurel and Hardy, Batman and Robin, Wallace and Gromit. And like I say, on their own, they're fine. But when they're together, that's when the magic happens. And the true is same for vocabulary. Words on their own, they're fine. But they don't truly come alive. They don't truly become useful until they work in partnership with other words. And as J.R. Firth, who is often known as the father of collocation, he was a British linguist, he says, "You shall know a word by the company that it keeps." So yes, you might know a word, you might know how it's pronounced and the meaning of it, but that meaning can change depending on how the word is used and what it is in partnership with. So let's start off then by defining what do we actually mean by word partnership. Some people might call it multi-word vocabulary. But what do we mean? It includes a large number of different types of word partnership, okay? So I'm going to give you some example sentences. So here we've got 6 sentences, and in each sentence, there is a different kind of word partnership. Thank you. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, but yeah, collocation, idioms, proverbs. Okay, so let's look at the different sentences together. Collocations, collocations. Thank you, Allah. Okay, so let's look at the first one. When I was younger, I was always told that the early bird catches the worm, but I'm not sure I agree. What kind of word partnership is in that sentence? Yeah, it's a proverb, or we might say it's an idiom. Exactly. The early bird catches the worm. This is the word partnership. In number 2, the nearest newsagent is just in front of the cinema. What kind of word partnership is in this sentence, do you think? Can you find it? Can you tell me what it is? Very good, Allah. It is a prepositional phrase. We have just in front of. We don't teach in or front or of for the location. It's in front of. Okay, number 3, I'll have a glass of wine, please. Any guesses what this is? Yeah, okay, we're going to say a glass of wine. I agree. But I'd almost go a little bit further. For me, I can say the whole thing. I'll have a glass of wine. I'll have a bottle of beer. I'll have a glass of orange juice. I'll have a bottle of Coke. I'll have a glass of whatever. There is flexibility there, and we call this a chunk. So it has the flexibility that an idiom or a fixed expression doesn't have. Number 4, quickly, the wind was bitterly cold as it blew across the open fields. What word partnerships can we find there? Very good. Valentina, bitterly cold. Adverb plus adjective. So, well, what do we call that? We call that a collocation. So bitterly cold, an open field. And this is important because if your students saw the word bitterly cold, they might get confused because they might know the word bitter as in the taste of coffee, for example. But how can cold be bitter? It's confusing. The same for open field. They know what open means. I open the door. I open the car. I open the bag. I open the present. But fields, how do I open a field? It's very strange. I can't just open a field. So having collocational awareness is really important. And of course, you get different types of collocation. You get those metaphorical ones like open fields or bitterly cold, and more concrete ones, for example, a red shirt would be a collocation, or a blue shirt. It's a weak collocation, but it is a collocation. Okay, number 5. Okay, I hear you loud and clear. I need to be cool, calm, and collected. Okay, yeah, good, Allah. They are binomials or indeed a trinomial. Does anyone know any other trinomials? Do you know any other trinomials? So we have cool, calm, and collected. Safe. Well, safe and sound's a binomial because there's 2 of them. Thank you, Natalia. Bread and butter, again, there's binomials. Here and now, binomial. But think about trinomials. It's trickier. There's 3 of them. I like that, Allah. Really nice. Blood, sweat, and tears. That's a great example. Perfect. Okay. And then the last one we've got here, I'm just going to go through it really quickly. I've never been interested in the cult of celebrity. So it is a dependent preposition. Because we don't teach interested without in. We don't teach cult without cult of. Jealous of. Proud of. They go together. Now, there's one type of word partnership that I have left off this list, just because I didn't want to overcomplicate things. But what kind of word partnership do you think is missing from this list at the moment? So we've got idioms or fixed expressions, prepositional phrases, chunks, collocations, binomials, trinomials, dependent prepositions. What's missing? There we go. Everyone's favorite thing in English, a good, wholesome phrasal verb. But there are also word partnerships. Look up to, get on with, get up, sit down. They're all phrasal verbs. They're all word partnerships. So this is why I use the term word partnership as opposed to collocation, because it encompasses lots of different types of multi-word vocabulary. But quite frankly, it's just a name. And as Morgan Lewis points out in the book Teaching Collocation, it would not be wrong if we claim that all collocations are idiomatic and all phrasal verbs and idioms are collocations or contain collocations, as all are predictable combinations of different kinds. And that's the key here. It is a predictable combination. We know when someone is talking, or maybe when you're reading something, we know what comes you should know, it's a collocation. What comes? Thank you, there we go. What comes next? Exactly. So that's what they are, but why? Why is teaching word partnerships so important? Now, before I give the answer to that, just can you let me know in the chat box, in your vocabulary syllabus, is this something that you already teach explicitly? Do you include teaching word partnerships, collocations, whatever you want to call them, in your lessons? Just a very quick, simple yes or no. There's lots of yeses coming through, which is great. Perfect, it's good to hear. So you probably know why we teach them, right? They can facilitate language learning. And in fact, as Lewis points out again, collocations and other multi-word vocabulary allow learners to process and produce language at a much faster rate. Now, I'm yet to meet a teacher who does not want this. Every teacher wants their students to process and produce language at a faster rate. They are assumed to make up percentage of everything that we say, hear, read or write in real life. Let me know in the chat box, what is the missing percentage, do you think? Okay, Natalia has gone 80%. Thank you, Natalia. Maria is 75. Irina is 85. Svetlana 80. A few 70s going through. Approximately 99 says Marina. Okay, lots of 80s for Anna, Elena. Alice is 50, going lower. Irina 90. Marina 70. Katerina's gone low at 40%. Julia 75%. Okay. The positive thing here is you've all gone relatively high, more or less. The answer, though of course it will depend on the type of text, is around 70%. So it is high. And if you don't believe me, then let's do a little test. So here is a very short text. And what I would like you to do, I want you to quickly read through it, and in the chat box, type whatever collocations or word partnerships that you have found in there, okay? So read it quickly and write down any word partnerships that are there. Night out here, go for a swim, a light meal, good Maria, and Irina. Yeah, holes of golf, or even 18 holes of golf for Irina. Yeah, be back or be right back, and gets us back around. Something like that. we say that all the time, oh, or something like that. Have an early dinner, sleep in, go for a walk, hot springs, depend on. Thank you, Irina, Marina, Larissa. Start with, go for a walk. Is it there? Definitely go for a swim is there. 10-2, puffin or whale. Yeah, I mean, for us, it might not be a collocation, but maybe in, I think this is from Iceland, it is. I'll probably say fish and chips in the UK. Okay, the point we're making here is that they are everywhere. And this is a really simple activity that you can do with your students every time you do a reading lesson, or indeed every time you do a listening lesson using the audio script in the back of the book. Now, of course, the first time you do this activity, they might struggle. They might find it difficult to get the kind of the context of the task. But the more that you do it, and the more you kind of showcase where these collocations are, these word partnerships are, the more they're going to notice them, the better they're going to become. And this will have an impact on all areas of their English in terms of their skills development. Helping them to see, read, write, listen, speak better, okay? So a really simple task you could do. You can also do that even with comprehension questions in the book. I very often get my students who finish quickly, they've done the task really fast. Okay, look back at the questions. What collocations, what word partnerships can you find within them? And like I said, that is called a collocation hunt. Such an easy, simple task to do. No preparation needed, but really, really valuable. Okay, so what other benefits are there then of learning word partnerships? First of all, they enrich and revitalize existing vocabulary. You can take basic words that we learn at a low level, elementary, beginner even, and you can then add other words to them to give them new meanings, new usage, right? And that way we can build our students' vocabulary. So one way in which I kind of like to kind of showcase this is just by doing a little brainstorming activity. And for this purpose, we're going to brainstorm using menti.com. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Menti nowadays. So if you can take your phones and go online or open another window on your browser, go to menti.com, type in the code, which is 2010 77 88. Oh, I've typed it in wrong on my phone. That's why it's wrong. And when you're there, I want you to think of as many collocations that you can think of that go with business. Now that word might be words that go before business. It might be words that come after business. So for example, you could have a successful business or a business partner. Okay, so there are 10 spaces in the Menti. I'm going to share that screen. Which is that one, but not quite that one. It's there. So on your phones, type in as many collocations as you can think of, and I will do the same. Adjectives. start appearing. Let me think. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So look at that. Okay, so someone didn't go bankrupt. That's not, you wouldn't say business go bankrupt. I suppose maybe actually. Yeah, business trip, do my best business, a tough business. Okay, successful business, business cycle, make money. I'm not sure about make money. Business trip, business partner, business or do business. Business training. Okay, so there's some in here which we would probably say aren't necessarily collocations. Yes, you might chair a meeting in business, but that's something you do in business. It's not a collocation. But we have business. Oh, who wrote monkey business? I love that. I love a bit of monkey business. None of your business as well. Well done, Paulina. Great expression. I always say that to my children. What monkey business are you up to? It's just business. Close business or close of business. Yeah. Set up a business. Negotiate. Not sure about negotiate. Business model. Freelance business. None of you. Yeah, perfect. Keep them coming. I can see 23 of you have done something out of 228. Which means there's nearly 200 of you who haven't put anything in the Mentimeter yet. But that's okay. We have lots of good words, collocations there. And this is just a really nice way of doing it because it makes it really visual. And then you can analyze that with your students rather than, if we did it in the chat box, it would just be whizzing past super quickly. Okay, perfect. So that's one nice real activity you could do. And then you could put students into groups and get them to discuss what the different expressions might mean if they're new to them. Or even you could then do follow-up, some kind of follow-up written task. So for example, maybe choose 5 of the expressions and write sentences. Or choose 10 of the expressions and write a short story using them. There's lots of different things that you could do as a result. But what it does, it highlights to students how many different words collocate together. And of course, I've chosen one there which has got hundreds of collocations. I had all of these ones I prepared earlier. There are tons and tons and tons of collocations. Okay, another sort of variation of that activity is called the collocation iceberg. And it's a really simple activity. It's communicative, it's collaborative. So I asked my students to get a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, they draw an iceberg. And what is it about icebergs that is special in terms of their dimensions? Can anyone tell me? What's special about, I can't get, is that showing? Can't really show it. Not working. There is more above or below the surface. Is there more of the iceberg above or below the surface? Yeah, you only see the tip of it, right? And that is kind of my understanding or my kind of view on students' understanding of words, and especially with collocations. They know some collocations, but there's a lot more under the water that they don't know, or maybe they can't remember. The actual dimension is something like 20% above the water, 80% below the water. Like I say, what is under the water is the unknown collocations. So how does this activity work? Well, like I say, students get a piece of paper and they draw their iceberg. And then in pairs, they write down, or before them pairs, I give them the word that I want them to focus on, family, for example. And then in pairs, they write all of the collocations that they know above the water, on the tip of the iceberg, because this represents what they already know. So they know family life, family background, family name, royal family, family values, dysfunctional family, for example. So I give them 1 or 2 minutes to do that in their pair. They then take their piece of paper and they pass it to the next group. Now, do you think the students will have exactly the same words on their pieces of paper? Yes or no? Exactly, not the same. Okay, there will be some the same, of course, there'll be some crossover, but there'll be other words that they haven't remembered or they just don't know maybe, or they don't know the collocate. So it becomes a little bit of a peer teaching activity. So with a new piece of paper that they've been passed from the other group, you can then write down any other words that they don't already have above the water, and you write them below the waterline. In other words, the words which the first group did not know. And you give them 1 or 2 minutes to do that. You then pass the paper again to another group and you repeat the process. And then you pass it to another group and you repeat the process. And you do that 3 or 4 times so that when the paper comes back to the original group, I get my original iceberg back. It should hopefully look a bit like this. There should be more words underneath the surface, because these are words that I couldn't initially remember, or I just didn't know collocate with family. Because it's drawing on the resources, drawing on the knowledge of the rest of the class. So essentially it's a brainstorm activity, but it's one where everybody is involved in a more collaborative fashion. And then once you've got your iceberg, you can then use that for follow-up activities. But it's a really nice way just to build on collocational awareness and knowledge. And you know, this teaching of collocation, it is so important. How many groups, Natalia? It depends on how many students you have in your class and how many times you want to do it. So if you've got a class of 20, you probably wouldn't have you might have 10 groups, but you wouldn't get them to give it to every single group. You might just do it with 5 groups, because otherwise it's going to take a really long time. So I'd suggest sort of 4 or 5 times, and then they get their original paper back. So, you know, teaching collocation is important. It's why it's such a kind of central part of the outcomes series and following this lexical approach. So we can see here a little activity, match the nouns above with the groups of words that they go with. So for example, make your own, wear a, hide behind a. Yeah, good, Mark. Thank you, Marina. I'm just going to answer the question there from Natalia. Just going back to this. So let me explain again. Every group has a piece of paper with an iceberg. They write their words that they know above the water. So you give them the keyword, family in this case. 2 minutes in their group, they write all the words they know above the water. So every group is doing that. They then take their paper and pass it to the next group. They have a look at it, see what words are above the water, and they add any other words below the water. Every group is doing that. So all students are involved at all time. You then repeat that process 4 or 5 times. Okay? Thank you, Natalia. So the point I'm trying to make of all of this, though, is the importance of collocations. Most students would improve dramatically if they spent less time trying to perfect their grammar and learning new rare words, and instead simply learn to use the words they already know in a huge number of collocations of which these words are part. Okay, here's another question for you. Has anyone heard of the ACL when it comes to language? That's fine, Marina. Okay, have you heard of the AWL? You should have heard of the AWL. especially if you teach at kind of higher levels, maybe at high school or university. Okay, so the AWL is the academic word list. It's a good guess, Natalia, access control list. No. So the ACL is the academic collocations list. And this is a list that was developed in 2013 by Kirsten Ackerman and Yuhui Chen. And it is a list of 2,469 collocations based on words from the academic word list. And it's been based on the Pearson International Corpus of Academic English. Now, it's not a particularly exciting document. It looks like this. But if you are teaching academic English at university level, or if you're teaching IELTS, it's really useful to be aware of. And you can do different activities with it. I'm going to zoom in there for you a little bit. So there you can see lots of, so academic is the word that is on the academic word list, and those are the most common collocations that go with it in an academic sense. Okay, perfect. So let's see how good you are. So I've taken the word crucial, which is a word that is on the academic word list, and there are 7 academic collocations with it. But can you guess what those 7 most common academic collocations are? A crucial moment. It's not particularly academic though, is it? Maybe a crucial aspect, a crucial issue, a crucial point, crucial information. Thank you, Katerina, Victoria, and Irina. A crucial part, crucial importance. Good, Oksana. Crucial decisions. Good guess. Valentina. Crucial role, crucial part. These are all good guesses. Some of them are on the list. Some of them are not on the list. Crucial issue, crucial role. Think about academic. Crucial point. Yes, Natalia, that's on the list. Crucial elements. Okay, I'm going to reveal the answers to you. There we go. Crucial difference, crucial factor, importance we had, part we had, point we had. I think somebody said question and then role. So I think we got all of them apart from difference. So well done, you guys. Great job. So it's just one way in which you could exploit the academic collocations list. You can find it online. Just type in academic collocation list and it will come up with a link. You can then save it and share it with your students or use it in class as you see fit. Okay, this of course has an impact on how we get our students to record their vocabulary. All too often students just record individual words in a vocabulary book. But really this is not a very effective way of recording vocabulary because it doesn't really give any usage. It's just a word. In fact, it's fairly useless. So something we need to work on is our students' actual collocation competence and how they record vocabulary. And I would always encourage them to try to record it with as many collocations as possible. So for example, if we have the word coffee. Now, in an elementary course book, coffee gets taught with the verb drink. Don't jump the gun just yet, Natalia. Now, how often do we say, I drink coffee? Or, oh, look, he drinks coffee. Or, oh, she drinks coffee. I drink coffee. We don't say it very often. There are other verbs which are more common. Okay. There we go. You're getting the whole thing's coming in. So I would encourage them always to add a verb in. So I've given a long list here, but you wouldn't give them this many. You might give them 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5, depending on the level of your students. So have a coffee, go for a coffee, sip your coffee, spill your coffee. My students do this all the time. Order a coffee. But then you can increase the complexity by adding in that adjective. Again, you give them choice. Fresh coffee, milky coffee, strong coffee, white coffee. What kind of coffee do you like drinking? Natalia's gone for a Viennese coffee. I'm not sure what a Viennese coffee is, I have to say. Arabica, I don't know. Strong coffee, white coffee, okay. So try to think, when you're teaching vocabulary, try to think, well, how can I make this more worthwhile? What can I add to it? Collocations. I also want to draw your attention to the website at the bottom of the slide there, justtheword.com. This is an amazing website. That list of all those business collocations I had earlier, I didn't sit down and think those up. I went to this website. You type in your keyword and it'll come up with every single collocation that goes with that word. It's amazing. It's a really good resource. So just-the-word.com. Go check it out. But what all of this means is, as Scott Thornley points out, is that the mental lexicon is not so much a dictionary as a phrase book. Think about when you go on holiday, or you used to go on holiday, would you take a dictionary in your suitcase? I'm going to guess not. The dictionary is big and heavy, and actually it's just one word. It's not useful. What you would take is a phrase book, because a phrase book is far more useful. You can open it and you get whole chunks of text or word partnerships that you can just take out and use in the hotel, in the restaurant, at the shops, at the train station. Therefore, we should be getting our students to replicate that as well. Get them to record vocabulary as a phrase book, collocations, not as a list of words. Okay, let's move on. Why else are they great? Well, they reflect natural, it's justtheword.com, Larissa, it's in the chat, further on the chat. So, collocations, word partnerships, they reflect natural speech and the fluency of native speakers. So, some research by Pauly and Sider argue that there are hundreds or even thousands of lexicalized sentence stems that native speakers have at our disposal. And for second language learners to improve their fluency, they need to have access to these. They're chunked expressions which enable learners to reduce the cognitive load, the cognitive effort, that saves processing time and gives them language which is available for immediate use. We speak not in tongues, we speak in chunks. And for anybody who's ever taught Asian students, they often speak very slowly. My name is Alex, or whatever it might be. Because they're processing it word by word, rather than as a chunk. And the chunk there would be, my name is. It makes it more automatic, it makes it more fluent. And as Professor Jack Richards points out, there are many factors that can contribute to the naturalness of speech, but one important factor is the extent to which learners are using what are sometimes called multi-word chunks, as well as conversational routines or fixed expressions. Even things just like once upon a time, that's a set phrase, once upon a time, or in a more kind of modern expression, just the other day I saw, or just the other way, just the other day, ... Okay, they make up everything that we say. So how can we help our students with this? Well, one activity we can do is get them to think about pronunciation thought groups. In other words, dividing sentences up into chunks of text which are kind of led by the partnerships within them. So for example, in the first one there, my best friend started her own company about 5 years ago, right after college. How could we encourage students to break that up into logical groups? Well, I'll do this first one for you. My best friend would be your first thought group. My best friend started her own company about 5 years ago, right after college. What about number two? Where would we split the text? So maybe just shout in the text, tell me which word you would stop after, or the chunk would finish. So her son wants to study business and then work at a bank. Okay, good, son. Or her son wants. Her son wants to study business, thank you, Natalia, and then work at a bank. Good. Her son wants to work at a bank, to study business, and then work at a bank. Number three is a bit longer. Running a successful business is not easy because you work a lot and have to take risks. Okay, running a successful business, good. It's not easy, thank you, Irina. Work because you work a lot and have to take risks. Perfect. And then the last one would be number four. I got a job at the new cafe on Main Street. I got a job. I've got them all in there. At the new cafe on Main Street. Great job. So getting students to analyze sentences. Now those sentences might be in a text, it might be in questions, but get them to do it, to think about how it gets broken up. And it makes them more familiar to say words as a chunk as opposed to my best friend, my best friend. One way in which we can encourage that is an activity called Race the Teacher. And this activity is a lot of fun. It's also very, very, very noisy. But students love it because if there's one thing they want to do in class, and that is to beat the teacher. So how does it work? So I have a set of 6 sentences, and in each sentence, there is a word partnership of some description. And the first step is I will drill the sentences with my students. So repeat after me at your screen. At the end of the day, we just don't know. At the end of the day, we just don't know. To tell the truth, I've not seen it. I can hear you. I'm better at singing than dancing. I think I can hear you. I go to the cinema from time to time. Okay, you get the idea, we drill it through. But what we're really focusing on here is getting them to say those chunks as fluently as possible with that connected speech. So at the end of the day, not at the end of the day, at the end of the day, to tell the truth, not to tell the truth, to tell the truth. Not I'm better at, I'm better at, I'm better at. Time to time, kinda. What kind of things stick in your mind? Do you know what I mean? So you're drilling that. You then give students a couple of minutes to practice reading them by themselves, trying to read them as quickly, as fluently as possible. And of course, the more time they do that, the better they're going to get. Next step, you put them into pairs and you say they're going to have a little race against each other. They have to say all 6 sentences as quickly as possible in one go. So at the end of the day, we just don't know. To tell the truth, I've not seen it. I'm better at singing than dancing. I go to the cinema from time to time. And they have a winner. And they want to beat their partner. So they're desperate to say it as fluently as possible. Now, you give them a couple of attempts at that to see, who is the fastest. Then the moment of truth. They get to race the teacher. They have to say the 6 sentences quicker than you. And this is what I mean when it gets very, very noisy, very raucous in the classroom. And it's like 3, 2, 1, go. At the end of the day, we just don't know. To tell the truth, I've not seen it. I'm better at singing than dancing. I go to the cinema from time to time. What kind of things stick in your mind? It's not easy being me. Do you know what I mean? Did any of you beat me? Maybe, maybe not. But you get the point. And what this is doing, it's lots and lots of repetition. Thank you for Deanna being honest. It's lots of repetition, which builds automaticity, which means that these expressions, these phrases, these collocations are going to stick in your mind. Okay, time is running out far too quickly. Other benefits of learning word partnerships. It aids listening and reading fluency. Just as we speak in chunks, we should be reading in chunks. We should be listening in chunks because it allows us to predict what comes next. And that's really important. So let's just do a little experiment on this, okay? I'm going to read a short text to you, okay? And I want you to listen quietly. Do not write anything just yet. Just try to remember as much as possible. Are you going to write anything down? Okay, here we go. In the modern world, it is not unusual for people to feel depressed or isolated. It can be hard to make meaningful connections with others. That was certainly how the mysterious Juan Man felt. Until the day he decided to start giving free hugs to strangers. What started as a desperate attempt to change his own life subsequently transformed him into an international star. Okay, now in the chat box, write down anything that you remember. Any content that you remember, write in the chat box. Okay, meaningful connection transformed into in the modern world. Thank you, Marina, Irina, and Ella. International stars, meaningful connections, desperate attempt. Thank you, Daria. Marina, lots of desperate attempts, great. Make him an international star. Thank you, Larissa. Free hugs, free hugs. Okay, Polina knows to book Inside Out. Thank you. Outcomes Intermediate Unit 2, wow. Give free hugs. He became an international star. Free hugs. Okay. Good. You've done exactly what I wanted you to do. Because all of your answers are collocations or chunks. Give free hugs, meaningful connection, desperate attempt, international star. Not unusual to feel isolated. Brilliant. Because you are listening in chunks, in collocations, in word partnerships. If you did this with your students, would they be writing chunks like this? Or would they be writing individual words? Let me know in the chat box. Would they be doing like you, or would they be doing single words? Okay, 50-50, hopefully chunks, some of you say, okay, good. But from my experience, the majority start off just by single words. Which means we need to do this kind of activity, this kind of dictogloss regularly to show them that they listen in chunks. They listen in word partnerships. Okay. We can also do this as a reading activity. So that activity you probably know is called a dictogloss. So it's a text reconstruction where they're listening out for chunks of text to reconstruct it. There's another activity called a dictoglance, which is basically the reading equivalent of that. So a dictoglance, and we'll do it very quickly. So this time I'm going to show you the text. And I'm only going to show it to you for a very, very short time. Okay? I want you to read it as quickly as possible. And then I'll ask you to write down what you remember in the chat box. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Okay, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. In the chat box, tell me what you can remember. Okay, good. True identity. Thank you, Daria. Lonely and unemployed. Feeling desperate and alone. Depressing times. Okay, good. His parents had divorced. Miserable year. True identity. Excellent, excellent work. So once again, we can see that you are all giving your answers in chunks because this is how you are reading it. You are reading in chunks. Your students hopefully would be doing the same, but maybe not. And again, they're literally everywhere, okay? Get them to notice them. The more they notice them, the better they get. It's going to improve their reading and their listening. And you can also do a shadow reading task, which basically encourages them to listen and read in chunks as well. So how does a shadow reading task work? So you take a text from the book, and as the teacher, you read the text aloud with the students following. But every time that you pause, they put a mark in the text. So in other words, they're doing that kind of pronunciation thought group. So you read it once, they're marking where you pause. You then read it a second time to the students. And this time, they listen out for any connected speech or any linking sounds. You then read it a third time if you want to, and repeat the process. So what they end up with is a kind of an annotated text of where to pause and where the connected speech is. And that connected speech will very often be as part of a chunk or a collocation. You then get them to read it by themselves to practice that reading fluency. And then the final part of the activity is you read it as a teacher and your students read along with you out loud. So they are reading at the same pace as you, with the same pronunciation, with the same sentence stress. But you can find out more about shadow reading tasks online, okay? Okay, so it helps reading and listening. And of course, it also helps with your writing. Just like with speaking, reading and listening. Writing is all about writing in chunks. Think about the kind of writing lessons you do with your students. How many formulaic expressions or phrases can you think of that are used in those pieces of writing? Now, I've written here academic writing, but it could be any kind of writing. Tell me in the chat box, what formulaic expressions, sentence stems do you give your learners to use in their writing? For example, if it was a letter, we always say, yours sincerely, chunk. Dear sir, dear madam. It's a chunk. It's a basic chunk, but it's a chunk. Or a fixed expression. Lovely, Irene here. Looking forward to a reply. On the other hand. Exactly. All those linking phrases, these are all collocations, first of all, as a result, because of, as soon as, to conclude, to summarize, in contrast. On the other hand, again, I think, I feel, in my opinion, in addition, exactly. They are everywhere. So again, the research tells us that learning these expressions will help them with their writing as well. Last couple of things before we finish, because time is running out. It's also useful for exam preparation. You think about the Cambridge exams, the whole use of English is about word partnerships. That might be the vocabulary close, it might be the open close, but it's knowing which words work together. IELTS, IELTS, yes, it's speaking, listening, reading, writing exam, but actually for me, I would say it is a vocabulary test. It's a vocabulary exam because you need to know synonyms, antonyms, as well as all these word partnerships. It will help you to read faster, listen better, speak more fluently, and write better as well. And then the final little thing is the research tells us that it helps students escape that horrible intermediate plateau. They reach B1, B1+, and they can speak English. They can communicate. And they're like, oh, job done. I'm finished learning English. But actually, they're not. They get stuck at that plateau. You get the other students who want to go up to high levels, but they can't because they're fixated on the grammar. But as we all know, by the time you reach sort of B1 intermediate level, you've met 90% of English grammar. And therefore, upper intermediate, advanced, is not so much about the grammar, it's about the vocabulary development. And again, I'm going to reference Scott Thornbury here. The biggest difference between an intermediate and an upper intermediate student or advanced student is their awareness of and their ability to use collocations. I cannot stress enough how important it is to make this a key part of your teaching. So, just to summarize very quickly, lots of benefits of learning word partnerships, including enriching, revitalizing existing vocab, increasing fluency, helping reading fluency and listening ability, helping their writing, helping them for exams, helping them to escape that intermediate plateau. So, clearly there's a very strong argument we're making here. I'm not saying forget about grammar and forget about teaching words individually, but make sure word partnerships are integral to your teaching as well. Okay, so I'm going to finish with a quote, which is what the whole talk was based on. It's from John Donne, the author, famous poem. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. I've just kind of taken this and changed it. No word is an island entire of itself. Every word is a piece of a continent, something more, something greater. It is a part of the main. Okay, so thank you ever so much for your time. I know how busy you are. I know how much else is going on in your lives. So thank you for sparing your afternoons with me. And again, I apologize for Hugh not being here, but he will be here in 2 weeks' time. All of the examples came from the outcome series, as Paulina pointed out earlier. Hopefully you've taken away some ideas and tips and tricks you can use in your classes. For more information as well, please do contact Deanna and the team at Linguist. The website's there, the phone numbers are there, the Facebook sites are there as well. And if you're interested in further reading, there's lots of good books on word partnerships and collocation. You have Teaching Lexically by Hugh Deller and Andrew Walkley, the authors of Outcomes. How to Teach Vocab by Thornbury, The Lexical Approach. Teaching Collocation by Lewis is a great book, but also The Company Words Keep is also very, very good as well. So check those out. So just to sort of finish really, if there are any questions, please pop them in the chat box. But just to remind you that tomorrow you will receive an email from Zoom thanking you for coming to this webinar. In that email, you will have a link to the certificate, which I know is important. You will have a link to the recording in case you've missed anything or you want to rewind and listen back. There will be a link to a survey, which we would love for you to complete to give us some feedback, but also ideas for future webinars. And there will also be a link to Hugh's webinar on the 9th of June. I was going to say the 8th, but the 9th of June. So in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks today. Okay, perfect. Well, Oksana, thank you very much. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you all today, as always. I just want to share a little story. I was at IATEFL last week in Belfast, and I had the absolute pleasure of spending some time with some Ukrainian teachers. And it was so lovely to be able to sit and talk to them and just to listen to them. Some of them had come over from Ukraine, some of them had been relocated to places in the UK, but it just filled my heart with joy in terms of your dedication to your profession, to teaching. You know, despite everything that's going on, you are so dedicated to your students. And I think that is so, so commendable. So thank you once again to all of you. It really does humble me and everyone here at National Geographic Learning.
Thank you very much, Alex. That's very kind words of yours. And that's true, actually. I know lots of teachers who have been continuing to do their job or coming back to their job, and it's really grateful. And thank you very much. Thank you, National Geographic Learning, for support, because at the beginning of the war, you supported us a lot with materials. Teachers gave me feedback on your online lessons, that the one with the vocabulary and grammar ones. So
lovely.
they use it and they like it a lot. So that's really very lots of support is really what we need now. So, and thank you for great ideas. I believe that you had opportunity to write all them down. Also, we will put our the recording. You will get it in your emails, and we also put the recording on our YouTube channel, where you can watch it when you like. Alex has mentioned different methodological books, and I would like to say that in Linguist we have most of these books that are available for you to purchase. So if you're interested in this topic, there are lots of options, so contact us, we'll be grateful. Alex, again, thank you very much. That was a real pleasure to listen to everything. And as usual, lots of fresh ideas.
My pleasure, Diana. Everyone, stay safe, stay well, and we will see you in a couple of weeks with Hugh Della. Okay, so take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Goodbye, everyone.